The tanks were full of monsters. Each 10-foot tall vat was packed with reddish goo like jello, only clearer and more liquidy. But instead of fruit beads suspended in this group was a collection of creatures straight out of nightmare. Giant crabs with human faces, snake-like beings with bat wings and tiger heads, humanoids with frog legs and yellow fangs. And this was only the three vats we could see. Six more were waited behind those. Hanzomon had the makings of a monster army. For a brief moment I thought I would lose my dinner. Folding an arm across my stomach, I nodded toward the snaky things. You. Yes, indeed, said Mr. Hanzomon. The pride in his voice was as transparent as a shirt made of scotch tape. I created them myself with a little help. Aren't they marvelous? Benny looked positively green. Not exactly the word I was searching for. The scientist patted the crab creature's vat. From a purely scientific point of view, this is a tremendous breakthrough, the next step in humankind's evolution. Then why do I feel totally creeped out? I said. Mr. Hanzomon turned to face us. An eerie light shone in his eyes. New ideas seem frightening to the untortured mind. So do totally local ideas, I thought. And now what? Benny cleared his throat. What are you going to do with the monsters? Our host's eyes twinkled. Why, release them, of course. How else will new heroes emerge without new monsters to face? This guy was going to turn all these monsters loose on our town. Hundreds of people might die. Who knew what damage the creatures would cause? Benny's eyes found mine. I read in them the same thought I was having. This dude is totally wackadoodle. Gingerly I edged backward. But why Monte Rosa? Yeah, how did we get so lucky? Added Benny. Spreading his arms, Mr. Hanzomon said, this place is monster heaven. Funny, but they left the slogan off the town's website, said Benny. Joining me, I noticed that the more nervous he got, the more he tended to joke. Me too. The billionaire cocked his head. It's something about the magnetic field here, ever since that earthquake in October. Quite fascinating. We are not sure why, but the altered resonance encourages abnormality to flourish. I can see that, I said. Still backing away, his comment explained a lot, actually, about why we had to tangle with were-hyenas, mutant mantises, and Scorp-Lions, all between Halloween and Christmas. But that didn't change one essential fact. He was still nuttier than the contents of a squirrel's lunchbox. So, Mr. Hanzomon indicated the laboratory. What do you think? Words can't express what I think, I said. Stroking his chin, the scientist said, you know, this is a big project, and I recently lost my assistant. I could use some reliable interns with a passion for science. Interested? Gee, said Benny, sorry, but my Pee-wee football league starts next week. I gestured toward the elevator. And we really should be getting home. Of course, said our host. I blinked. Was he really going to let us walk out after all we've seen? Benny and I stood just a few feet away from the elevator doors. The guard still blocked our path. So, we can go, said Benny. Certainly, said the scientist. Just like that? I asked. He did that twitchy thing with his mouth that passed for a smile. You two said you want to be heroes. I flinched, me and my big mouth. My people have been monitoring events at your school. said the scientist. They told me how you responded to creatures I sent there. A jolt raced through my limbs. So you are the source of the Scorp-Lions. Yes. Oh man, Benny wiped his forehead. You couldn't have sent a mashup of a bunny and a baby duck instead? Mr. Hanzomon ignored him, clasping his hands behind his back. You want to be heroes. Here's your chance. How do you mean? Asked Benny. If you can make it past my pets and over the wall, you will have proven yourself heroic enough to leave. If not, the scientist made a careless gesture. Oh well, I didn't much like the sound of oh well or of his pets, but I was afraid that we stayed there much longer. Mr. Hanzomon would try giving us a giraffe snack or hawk sweet. Keeping wary eyes on the billionaire, we approached the elevator. At a nod from Mr. Hanzomon, the giant ducks moved aside. Release Fluffy and her kittens, he said. Amazon number 1 went to a control panel on the wall and flipped a switch. Benny tried to chuckle. Fluffy, you'll see if you're still laughing when you meet her, said our host. We stepped into the open car and pushed the button for the ground floor. In case I never see you alive again, said Mr. Hanzomon. It's been interesting. If you are the best your school has to offer, the new age of heroes may be off to a slow start. I blurted. Oh yeah? Well, you have terrible taste in pants. The doors shut. Terrible taste in pants, said Benny. It takes me a while to come up with a good insult, I said. As the car rose, we checked our book bags. The contents of mine weren't very reassuring. A flashlight, several hard-boiled eggs, a power bar, and one of Zeppo's old tennis balls. I hope you still got your distraction, I said. We might need it. Bunny flashed me a thumbs up. Then the elevator stopped and the door slid open. Showtime. We poked our heads out. The hallway lay empty as quiet as midnight at the morgue. Which way to the door? Whispered Benny. I pointed right. This way, I think. Let's go. Both of us walked tiptoe, carrying our bags in one hand. Braced for the slightest tread, my head swiveled. My muscles were as tight as Green Arrow's bowstring. Past one high-tech office after another we went. One room was entirely lined with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, another with racks of animal smitherings. A clock ticked down the hall. A faint buzzing came from somewhere nearby. But everything else was still. The farther we went, the more my heart tried to climb out through my throat. We were crazy now, worse than crazy. Two fourth graders trying to be heroes? It was ridiculous. I couldn't even keep my parents together. How could I imagine that Benny and I might save our town from monsters? We paused at a cross corridor, listening intently. Fancy track lighting cast like spotlights on various gold-framed paintings. A potted fighter shed a leaf. That was all. What do you suppose Fluffy is? I whispered. If one chan is anything to go by, said Benny, a total freakazoid. Wonderful, I said. We made it past another few officers without incident. At the next intersection we stopped again. The buzzing was louder now, like the inside of an enormous beehive. The sound seemed to come from everywhere, and I knew it couldn't possibly mean anything good. The pit of my stomach felt emptier than a bully's compliment. Maybe It's a snore, whispered Benny. Maybe Fluffy's sleeping. Maybe. Somehow I didn't think we'd be quite that lucky. As we stood looking down the other corridor, a droplet landed on my neck. I reached to brush it off while glancing up for the source. My blood froze. Directly above me, clinging to the ceiling, was a new kind of horror. The head and body were that of an enormous tabby cat, big as a lynx, but from that body extended 8 hairy spider legs, which gripped the ceiling. Another drop of drool fell on me. Dios mío, I choked out, pointed upward. Yikes, Benny's eyes went around as softballs. Nice titty, he crooned. With a sinking feeling, I realized that the buzzing was coming from this mutant creature. She was purring, probably over the thought of dinner. And that dinner was me.